Welcome in, everybody, to the live stream here for week 11. It's time to hit the waiver wire. As always, we're looking for names we can add and what we can do to make our teams forever better. And we've got some big news, obviously, breaking just a short while ago about the future of Cooper Kupp season. Spoiler, it's no good. You've got a better chance of waiting online at Ticketmaster along with me for Taylor Swift tickets for your daughter than you do of waiting for Cooper Kupp to return and be useful for you this season. So it's a lot of rage. I feel your pain, everybody out there. So Andrew Erickson, let's start here with the big news. Let's start with Cooper Kupp because Cooper Kupp is indeed going to have that surgery on the ankle. It did not look good when we saw it. At least it wasn't a fracture. We all know that's a positive, but those degrees of high ankle sprains, you get the different ones. Some of them do require surgery. This one's going to. So theoretically, that's ending his fantasy season. It's ending the Rams season, let's be honest, because this is an offense that could not get out of his own way. So where do you go from here? Dare I ask, does anybody believe that Allen Robinson now has more value than he should?
I hope that if someone in my league believes that, because if I have Allen Robinson on my roster, I immediately put him on the trade block. For those that are looking at rose tinted glasses, the targets, as we talk about oftentimes on the podcast, he should see a lot of targets. Like that's the move behind Allen Robinson. But we've seen Robinson just be inefficient this year. He's not a receiver that's creating a lot of separation. And the Rams, the biggest problem with the Rams is their offensive line. Like their offensive line cannot give their quarterback time to throw the ball. Matthew Stafford, I do not want to see what Matthew Stafford looks like without Cooper Kupp on the field. Like that just does not seem like a good recipe for success. You have other guys still coming back and playing a bigger role. Ben Skoranek ran the most routes last week. Van Jefferson is now healthy and he's out there. He scored a touchdown last week. So I really don't think that Robinson is like the clear cut, he's going to immediately step in and be the wide receiver one here. I think it'll probably be pretty mixed. And honestly, the only guy that's really been productive this year has been Tyler Higbee. And it's because he catches his passes near the line of scrimmage because the offensive line can't block. So for me, Higbee is the big winner here. He's going to get, his 12 targets for, 40 yards, like get a lot of receiving in terms of PPR leagues. But I'm trying to sell on Robinson to anyone that thinks that he's going to step up and have a massive, second half of the season because I just don't see that happening.
No, it's certainly going in a weird direction. We were talking before the break, too. This is odd. Usually the team that wins the Super Bowl doesn't have the hangover. It's the team that loses the Super Bowl. But this has been a really bizarre set of circumstances we haven't seen in about 20 years for a team that wins the Super Bowl and the next year just has all sorts of issues. We talked about the Patriots missing the playoffs the year after they won. But other than that, it's been very strange here for sure when you're looking at those Los Angeles Rams, who were very stars and scrub roster to begin with, let's be honest. And we always knew when you lose a couple stars, it's really hard for a team that's built that way, that doesn't have a lot of draft picks, doesn't have a lot of depth, that is really, the upper tier guys. And if they don't perform up to speed, then you don't have anybody in the underneath to make up that difference. So that is a tough one there.
It's kind of like just one last thing on the Rams.
No, sure.
It's what happens when you don't have, like you mentioned, how like top heavy they are.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't draft players, like you don't have depth because they don't have any draft picks. So
Sean McVay's like, no. What's that meme where that guy's like draft picks? No. With that one with Drake. Yeah, that's him. He's like
the highest drafted player they have on the roster, and like I don't remember how many years, but in recent years is Cam Akers, and he's literally not even playing, and he's not playing. So
let's put high-end draft capital, the only draft capital, into a running back. That's a genius idea. New Orleans is saying that there's a possibility that Jameis Winston comes back and plays Week 11 for the Rams. What does that potentially do positively or negatively for the value of some of those assets like Kamara and like Chris Olave?
I think it's really good for Chris Olave. I think that we've kind of seen him taper off a little bit over the last 2 weeks, just not like massive games, but still the usage has been pretty good for him. And you usually see rookies have bigger impacts as the season progresses. Usually it's the second half where rookie wide receivers have better outings. So, I mean, as the most consistent rookie wide receiver this season, I think by far with Chris Olave, he's a buy for me right now. I think that you should be aggressive targeting him because I think that Jameis Winston unlocks a little bit more upside with him. I think Kamara, you're just kind of hoping that the offense just moves better with Jameis Winston under center. I would be more concerned about how many targets he gets because Jameis Winston definitely is more of a, hey, let's try to chuck the ball down the field as opposed to let's check it down to my running back. Kamara also has a tough schedule over the next couple of weeks. The thing with the Saints, though, is they have a really good playoff schedule. So if you're sitting pretty right now with a strong record and you can buy low on Alvin Kamara for the playoffs, I do like that type of move.
All right. Let's also talk about a move that will help everybody out there. Let's talk about the waiver wire pickup of the week from Sleeper, and that is Rachaad White. Now, he's still available in roughly 40% of leagues, if you can believe it. And the tricky part is he's got a bye in week 11, which we all know. So you can pick him up, but you can't play him this week. So who knows? He might sit out there longer than he should. If he is indeed out there, go after him, be aggressive. We know the health of Leonard Fournette in question. It seems to be trending in a good direction, but you never know. He's an older player at any given time. We all know the wheels can come off. So let's talk about Rachaad White. Let's talk about what he's got coming up in week 12, because that's the Cleveland Browns. And ooh, do we like that matchup, Andrew Erickson, not to mention the potential for Rachaad White to have a strong finish to the season and really help some fantasy teams as an RB2.
Yeah, I mean, Rachaad White kind of fits the profile as that rookie running back that kind of takes over during the second half of the season and is a potential league winner. And it starts against the Cleveland Browns. So I am, as you guys say, emptying the clip for Rachaad White this week if he is available on my waivers, because I believe in the talent with him. Thought that he was a great great prospect coming out of his Arizona State, and I was excited that he went to the Buccaneers. And look, Fournette has just been inefficient this year. And the fact that Fournette scored and has maintained some value and he's getting optimistic reports, these are all the green lights to, if you have Fournette, you need to sell him right now, because when we come back after the bye, would not surprise me at all. Rachaad White is the starting running back. Rachaad White started in week 10. He was the first guy out there. Now they were rotating drives, so it wasn't all Rachaad White, but it's clear they are committed to him and want to use him as a featured running back more so than Leonard Fournette, because he just offers more juice than Fournette does at his stage in his career. So I always sigh on being a little bit more pessimistic about these injuries when the reports are glowing. Oh, he's fine. It's okay, well, let's see how he's in 2 weeks when it actually matters, because we hear this all the time. Oh, Michael Thomas. Yeah, it's not a big deal. Yeah. He never played again. So consider me pessimistic about just buying into the reports, and I'm going to look at what actually happened, and Rachaad White was the guy for the Bucs. So I want to get him on my team, and I want to be aggressive about it.
Would you rather have Rachaad White or Ezekiel Elliott rest of season?
Oh, Rachaad White.
I agree.
No doubt.
I just updated my rest of season rankings over on Fantasy Pros, and that's why I thought, because I moved him ahead of Zeke, and I was like, this is just clear. This is easy.
I think the thing with Zeke, it's so Jerry Jones was the one that said he's going to play. Jerry Jones is the one that said that Zeke is going to be the guy
Dr. Jerry Jones.
And it's is this a joke that, the entire coaching staff's in? That's guys, are we going to tell Jerry that Zeke's not coming back soon and he's not going to be the starter anymore? Who's going to break the news to Jerry when Tony Pollard, who saw a season career high 87% snap share in last week? I don't think that Zeke comes back to a starting role. That's just what I think. And just the fact that Jerry Jones is the only guy that's saying Zeke is going to start. He's not the coach.
He's also not a doctor. He's also not any of those things. He is the owner, so he writes the checks at the end of the day. So I guess he has some sort of power potentially, but we shall see. If you've got questions, we've got answers. Don't forget, everybody, drop them in the chat right here, but you can only drop them if you are indeed a member of our Fantasy Pros crew, which means you got to be a subscriber of our YouTube channel. So go subscribe right now if you haven't already. Click that little bell until it goes ding for notifications, and you will be entered to win the new jersey. We've got Davante Adams. That's right. Autographed Davante Adams. Remember when Davante Adams was great and he played on offenses that were great, and that was fun. But he's still awesome. Still love Davante Adams. This jersey's from pristineauction.com. Who knows if we... Oh, it's a football. Oh, it's not a jersey. It's a football. I apologize. I was over there. I was on a different screen, and I didn't realize it was autographed football. That's even better. So you can tell stories about Davante Adams. You can get a little case for it. It's very nice there. I like the football. I like the jerseys too, but I like the football as well. Very cool. I would take that. Wouldn't you take that in your office? Put that somewhere. Don't play with it outside, kids. Okay?
Exactly
Don't make
what I
the
want for
mistake
Christmas. A football.
That's what you want? You want an autograph football?
Just any football.
Just any
autograph.
football.
Autographs is better, of course, but football's fine.
There you go. Make your list to Santa. All right, let's go. Let's go to end kicker. Drop Kareem Hunt or Chuba Hubbard for Isiah Pacheco in the half PPR.
Yeah, I'm dropping Hubbard.
I agree. That's the guy. El Tomo Loco. I need a QB this week. Brady on a bye. It's between Rodgers and Wilson. Look, Rodgers has been consistent, if not uninspiring. I think I just take the points. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, Wilson's playing the Raiders, and it's literally the only matchup he's actually been good at any point this season. So I understand, but the Broncos offense is just, I mean, as bad as the Packers offense has been at times. Like you said, Rodgers has been way more consistent with a floor. So I think I'd probably lean on him, but I do understand the appeal with Wilson in the Raiders matchup because their defense is just horrible.
Also have an update. For the first time in 2 hours and 41 minutes, the line of the queue of Ticketmaster for Taylor Swift has moved. So it is moving now. So at any given time, I might have to leave the show and try to get tickets for my daughter for this. And I've been waiting for almost 3 hours to try to do. And I swear to God, if they hit me with convenience fees, I'm going to burn this place down. I'm just going to burn the entire place down if they do the convenience fees. Some nerve they're going to have. So, all right, let's keep going here. Let's go to Shane Griffin's question. Love your work. PPR, are Parris Campbell, Nico Collins, Slayton, Wan'Dale Robinson, or Carter worth picking up? I think Slayton this week against the Lions absolutely is. I can make the case for Campbell as long as we're getting the case for Ryan. Those are the two guys I would target out of this group. I think Slayton gives you the most immediate help. What do you think?
Yeah, I think Slayton probably has the best matchup here. I do like Nico Collins long term, though. I mean, Nico Collins is taken over as a receiver 1 in Houston.
Yes,
like he's the number 1 guy. He's led the team in receiving yards since week 2. Like Brandon Cooks, his role is not the same. Like his role is significantly reduced. Like he's running as many routes as Chris Moore. So, and the Texans actually have rest of season. I think I actually prefer Nico Collins out of all these guys. I think he actually can be the clear-cut number 1 receiver on his team. Yes, it's Davis Mills, but I do like Collins.
All right, let's go to the next one here. Let's go to Reese Hudson. Bit of a dilemma, my friends. Could use your help. Well, lucky for you, Reese, we are here. I now have Kirk, Dak, and Watson on my team after getting Christian Watson and Deshaun Watson on waiver wire. So there you go. Reese picked up all the Watsons. There you go. How do you guys rank them rest of season? What should I do? All right, so we've got Dak, Kirk, and Watson, and it feels like, I doubt this is a super flex league because I don't think Watson would have been out there on the waiver wire. But let's say that it's a single quarterback league. What do you maneuver? Who do you keep? Who do you trade? Does Watson have the most theoretical value on the market because he hasn't played yet? Would you try to deal him? Or would you try to deal Kirk Cousins off that huge game last week that you said he would fail at miserably against Buffalo?
I mean, what did he would have even a top 15 quarterback?
So I just like winding you up. Don't you know? I just like winding you
like
up.
His numbers weren't even good.
I know, but they won. They won.
They did
on a
win.
lark
They
and a
did
prayer.
win.
I'm just teasing. But anyway, what would you do here? Because you're kind of in a tough bind here because Dak and Kirk are kind of the same, and Watson is that unknown where you just don't. How is he going to come back? He didn't play football all last year. He hasn't played all of this year. Is there rust? How long does it take to shake it off? I mean, there's a lot of questions there. I think I would try to deal Watson. I think he's the odd man out.
Yeah, I would really just try to find in your league whoever is playing like the worst quarterback. Like if someone is playing like Russell Wilson, for example, like has them as their starting quarterback, like try to target that person and try to deal them one of these quarterbacks that they're just struggling. If they're starting Jimmy Garoppolo, they're trying to upgrade. It's a 1 quarterback league, so you're not going to get a ton in return. But considering you got Watson for free, you can't start Kirk and Dak, both of who already had their bye weeks, I believe. Or I know Kirk Cousins at least had his bye week. So
right.
Yeah, and Kirk and Dak, there's really not a difference between the two guys. Similar schedules rest of the season. So that's probably what I would do.
All right, let's go to Sarath B. Toney or Pittman rest of season. Didn't think we'd get here, but here we are.
I think I'm just going to go with I'm still thinking Michael Pittman for me. I mean, we still liked him a lot with Matt Ryan. Matt Ryan is back under center, and that matters tremendously for this Colts offense and for Pittman in general, because it means he'll see targets that are much more in his range that he can catch. Toney's still like more of a wild card where, yes, like if Juju misses, you could see Toney's value going up a little bit more, but they still like use a lot of guys. Like Mecole Hardman didn't play last week. Like Justin Watson still played ahead of Toney, played more routes, played more snaps, ran more routes. So Pittman, I just feel better about his role in the offense where Toney is there's still a lot of question marks with him.
Yeah, there are. I think everybody sees that opportunity with the Juju injury and says, ooh, goodness, this could be fun. Speaking of fun, we're down to 400 people in the queue now ahead of me. So at any given time here, I'm going to have to pivot off here, and Andrew's going to have to be a one-man show. Now we're up to 108. So, Andrew, this is going very quickly, and I got to make sure I do this. Otherwise, oh my goodness, I'm up. Here you go. Next question here. Ira Williams, seems like I lost Goddard. Do I empty the clip for Kmet? Take it from here, Andrew. I've got some tickets to go buy.
Do I empty the clip for Cole Kmet? I think that makes a lot of sense. They're playing the Falcons this week. Kmet has got 5 touchdowns over the last 3 weeks, and I just don't see his production stopping. He's had a very good role on the Bears offense. So without Dallas Goedert, Cole Kmet makes like the most sense to me at picking up a tight end. Next question here from Ahmed. Should I start Christian Watson this Thursday? I mean, you're not giving me any other options of who you should start him over. I think that it is a good matchup for Christian Watson. The Titans have been more vulnerable against the pass than the run this season. You really can't run on them, honestly. So Watson, after a big game, I think the thing with Watson is his role was also very good in his breakout game. Like, it wasn't a fluky 3-touchdown game, kind of like the Nick Westbrook game where it just kind of came out of nowhere. Christian Watson, this is the first time he was really playing a full-time role, and this is what we saw. So I would feel good about Watson, like the wide receiver 3 range. I think that he is worth starting. It is a good matchup for him. Dad, you're so awesome. Fields and Tua decisions for the playoffs. Look, Tua has a very tough playoff schedule. So that's one thing I've kind of been noting when people ask me about Tua in the rest of season ranks is his playoffs are not great. Like, he faces, I believe, the Packers, the Patriots, and the Bills. So it's not a ideal matchup for him, and especially with the Bills being on the road. And the Patriots game is also on the road too. So cold weather, not ideal for a warm weather team like the Miami Dolphins, who are super exciting on offense, but you could see them stall out a little bit if playing under bad weather conditions. So for me, I'm going to stick with Fields. I think right now they're so closely ranked in the rest of season rankings that you can probably sell high on Tua and still get a decent return. Just keep Fields for the long term. Anthony Riskia, Isiah Likely, or Tyler Conklin as a stream this week. So it really depends on if Mark Andrews is available or not. I believe that we saw some optimistic reports coming from John Harbaugh about about Mark Andrews playing in this game. So that would make Isiah Likely a harder player to kind of chase off the waiver wire. Rashad Bateman's obviously out for the season. So the Ravens are just kind of lacking in pass catchers anyway. Tyler Conklin has a good role on the Jets, so I think it'd probably lean towards Tyler Conklin, but it's not a smash, the best way to put it. Charles Cox, should I drop Wan'Dale for Toney? Yes, you should do that 100%. Johnny Baseball, how long do I hold Kyren Williams? I mean, I don't think that you need to hold anyone on the Rams, to be totally honest. We hit it at the beginning of the show where the Rams offense in general is just kind of a dumpster fire, and they just lost their best player, putting Cooper Kupp on injured reserve. The offensive line can't block. Kyren Williams was involved in the passing game in his season debut, so you do like to see that because it's an offense that's probably not going to be able to block. He should catch receptions, but if there's someone on waivers, as we've kind of outlined in several articles this week, obviously the big waiver wire article on fantasypros.com, if there's a running back receiver that you like more, then I think you can drop Kyren Williams. I don't think that he's going to be the reason or a player that kind of saves your season necessarily. I think Kyren Williams is more of a fill-in on bye weeks because he will be involved in the passing game. I mean, I'd rather have him than Cam Akers at this point. Akers is basically just kind of dust. It's just not running efficiently behind a horrible offensive line. And Darrell Henderson is still kind of the lead back, played the most snaps for the Rams in the backfield in week 10. Coyote J, trade Jacobs and CeeDee Lamb for St. Brown and King Henry, PPR. Yeah, I do like that. Derrick Henry has one of the best schedules for fantasy running backs for the rest of the season. So Jacobs obviously has a good role in his offense, but Derrick Henry has a better schedule rest of the year, so I would go with Derrick Henry over Jacobs. And then Lamb and St. Brown, I would view them very closely. Lamb is actually second in target share this season, but St. Brown in the games that he's played, just been an absolute target monster. I have St. Brown ranked ahead of Lamb in my rest season rankings, so I think that is a smash for you, Coyote J, trading Jacobs and Lamb for St. Brown and King Henry. Joe Berger, trade Fields for CeeDee, lost Kupp. Yeah, if you're going to trade Fields, you will need to get an elite asset back. So losing Cooper Kupp, I think trading Justin Fields makes sense. Obviously, you're selling high, but you're getting a strong return with CeeDee Lamb. So I do like that move there. Tommy Boy, hey boys, need help. Number 2 waiver, and Elijah Mitchell's there. I'm stacked at running back, CMC, Barkley, Rachaad White, Gus Edwards, but Christian Watson is also out there. Look, Elijah Mitchell, I don't think he's going to see 18 carries every single week. I think that this was very matchup dependent based on that they were playing a Chargers defense that cannot stop the run. I don't think we're going to see him have this big of a role every single week. So I would prefer to go after Christian Watson, chase the 3 touchdowns from a rookie receiver that is extremely rare. Like, this could be the Watson breakout game. He could finish the year as an Odell Beckham type player, or you could also trade Christian Watson. You could sell high on him after you get him off the waiver wire. So I would lean towards Watson here, especially because you're stacked at running back. Look, Elijah Mitchell, I just don't think he's going to have 18 carries every single week. And I think that he's really more going to be a high-end handcuff for Christian McCaffrey as opposed to, hey, I can start this guy in my flex. A lot of times we get too optimistic about these number 2 running backs, and it's just a lot of times they just don't play enough snaps. he played 35% snap share in week 10. So in the best matchup you could ask for, really, for a running back. Matt B, full PPR, better tight end waiver pickup, Moreau, McBride, or Conklin. For me, it's Foster Moreau. We've already seen him operate as the number one tight end for multiple weeks for the Raiders. They don't have any other pass catchers besides Devontae Adams. Matt Collins is out there, but Hunter Renfrow on IR, Darren Waller on IR, McBride, it's a question mark. We just don't know how he's going to play. Conklin has just been inconsistent on the Jets, so I'm going to go with Foster Moreau, who scored last week. Not a ton of targets, but he's out there. 95% of the routes run on the dropbacks, so you like that usage from Foster Moreau. MD Rao, trade St. Brown for Kamara. I talked about Kamara earlier. I would only do this trade if, number one, I'm desperate at running back, and number two, I have a good record. Kamara has a tough schedule coming up, so I don't know if his production is going to immediately turn. There are other question marks now about Jameis Winston potentially taking over at quarterback. So how does that influence Kamara's target share? That is a very real question. But if you have a strong record, Kamara has a very good playoff schedule. So that's where I would do the deal. But in a vacuum, all things being equal, if the schedule doesn't matter to you, if your record is like, mediocre or just okay, like 5-5 or something like that, I would rather just keep St. Brown. He's also already had his bye week too, so that's something to kind of keep in mind. Gabe 735, should I put in a waiver on Schultz or Higbee to replace Goddard? I think either of those guys are great options. I think I would probably prefer Schultz. I know that Higbee is going to see a boatload of targets, but it's just an offense that you don't really get excited about in general for the Los Angeles Rams. It's kind of a mess across the board. So I would prefer Dalton Schultz just slightly over Tyler Higbee. Schultz has been very consistent with Dak Prescott. It's crazy. When Cooper Rush was the quarterback, Dalton Schultz was doing absolutely nothing, just cratered his production. But when Dak came back, Schultz's production has been very good. He's averaging 6 catches per game, where Higbee was very good at the beginning of the season, kind of tapered off a little bit. But with no Cooper Kupp, Higbee's going to go nuclear with his 12 to 14 targets per game, because that's all his offense can do is really check the ball down. Justin Sorge, hey guys, appreciate all you do. Curious, CMC or Barkley rest season, PPR. Curious on your thoughts about Shanahan comments about the split work. Look, CMC, we knew he wasn't going to get necessarily this insane workload with the San Francisco 49ers. So I think for me, it's still Barkley rest of season. Barkley has a better schedule rest of the season. So I prefer Barkley over CMC. Akbar, should I trade Joe Burrow or Fields for a 3rd round pick next year? In standard redraft formats, I think that makes sense. If you have both those quarterbacks, you kind of capitalize on one of your quarterbacks. You don't need both of them. So I think I'd probably trade Burrow. I'd like to keep Fields if I can keep him next year as well. Adam,
I did it, Erickson.
Oh, you're back, Joe?
I did it. I am a successful purchaser of 4 tickets.
Huzzah!
4. Huzzah! Huzzah! That's right. I did it. That was possibly the most stressful thing I've ever done in my entire life. I'm not going to lie. Like, that was every time I clicked on a seat, Andrew, it would disappear. And I'm clicking on another seat. I'm clicking on another seat. What do I do? How many seats did I just buy? What just happened? Whew. I'm exhausted. That took a lot out of me. But I see you answered Akbar's question. Did we get to Adam O's question yet?
Nope, that's the one we are on right now. Yeah.
All right. Adam O, am I just always starting Fields over Lamar? I think you are, and I think you're trading Lamar, Andrew, don't you think?
Yeah, at this point, you just ride the wave. Like, ride the guy that's been playing hot. He's playing the Atlanta Falcons this week. There's no reason to take Fields out of your lineup.
Rest of season, where do you have Fields at this point? I've got him at 3, and I think you can justify it pretty well right now.
I think the way I view it is just like he's just in the top tier. So he's in the tier with Mahomes, Hurts, Allen. I think I have him at 4. I think he's right behind those guys. But
it's a special tier though, because he is now the 7th leading rusher in the NFL after this run he's been on.
It's crazy.
That's absurd.
He's right ahead of he's right ahead of Travis Etienne. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. Like, Justin Fields, man.
It's an indictment on how bad running back has been this year, but it's also just shocking in such a short period of time what he's been able to do.
Well,
here.
When you rip off 140 plus yards back to back.
Well, the 170 doesn't hurt. Yeah, that 170 certainly.
He just posted 2. Like, obviously, he broke the record for most rushing yards in a game by quarterback, and then he put up another. I think the one last week was in the top 5. I know it was in the top 10 at least. So, in the last 2 weeks, he's put up 2 top 10 performances for QB rushing in NFL history. So, Yeah, special player.
Special player indeed. All right, let's get to the next one here. Johnny Lee, and thank you, Andrew Erickson, for helping me out there.
Oh
My
yeah.
daughter will be very thankful. And I'm getting to you, Chris. Jeez, you've seen so much. And Chris, I was going there next. Gee whiz. To go to that one shot so I could do that and be father of the year for that little girl's 13th birthday. I mean, I don't know if there's anything more like 13th little girl birthday or preteen birthday or teenager birthday than going to see Taylor Swift.
I don't
guess
think
that
there is either.
I think that's the ultimate possible thing.
When I think
Whew.
13-year-old girl birthday, I automatically go to Taylor Swift concert.
Taylor Swift would be where I would go to. So, but I'm going to be out there. I'm going to be singing every lyric along. I'm going to have no voice the next day on the shows. I'm going to be right there with all the other Swifties. All right. So thank you, Chris, and thank you, Andrew, and thank you, DeBlane, who allows me to do these things. And I told him, look, this is what's going on. It's kind of crazy. I thought this would be done way hours ago, but it wasn't. See the things you do when you have kids. Remember this, Andrew, because you're getting married in a couple of years. And then you are going to have kids at some point, hopefully. And when you do, you're going to do crazy things like this. You're going to see. All right, let's go to the next thing here. What do we got? We got Johnny Lee, Christian Watson, or Slayton this week in rest of season. I know it's very exciting to watch Christian Watson do what he did last week, but I would be starting Slayton this week. But rest of season, how do you feel about this? And how do you feel about these two for week 11?
I mean, I think I like Watson in both scenarios.
You're really there? Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I think just from a value standpoint, like, I mean, if you had Darius Slayton on your roster, can you get anything for him? Probably not. Like, I know he's had a couple good games, but, he doesn't have the name brand. Whereas Christian Watson, I mean, you can trade Christian Watson if you want to for a decent profit. If you just think, all right, I'm just going to capitalize on 3 touchdowns. Like, not that I don't like Christian Watson, don't believe in the talent, but it's like, hey, if you sell high on a guy who just scored 3 touchdowns and possibly the best game of his NFL career, which could definitely be this game,
it could be.
It's not a bad time to sell high.
I agree, man. I think you check and see what that's worth because we don't know how consistent he's going to be.
He's also always on the injury report.
He's always on the injury report. Yeah. He's had multiple drops already. He had a great game against a really bad corner too. Let's not pretend like that didn't happen. Brown's not good. So, I mean, let's call it what it is. I mean, this is a perfect opportunity. And Slayton is playing the Lions this week. So if you had both these guys and you can get someone to overpay for Watson, I would make that move and then play Slayton this week. Anthony Riccio, what's a buy low RB that I can go for with these trade assets, Gabe Davis or Rondale Moore in the full PPR league? What do you think you can pull off for Gabe Davis and Rondale Moore?
I mean, I want to try to get ETN, but it's probably still not enough that you can get.
Would you take Rachaad White for Rondale Moore? That seems like a fair trade.
Yeah.
Especially with White on a bye this week.
Yeah, I think going after Rachaad White makes a lot of sense. I mean, I think that if you're looking for like instant production, there's a lot of backfields that I like targeting, whether it's the Bears backfield, the Commanders backfield.
How about Miami? What about Wilson? Is that a guy you would try to make the
Wilson,
deal for?
I think would work too. He's on a bye week, but I mean, he's got a great schedule the rest of the way. I just don't know how the market's viewing Jeff Wilson. Like after 2 very strong weeks, I'm not sure. I know we have him I think he's RB17 in rest of
well,
season
if they were viewing it the way we did when that trade happened,
right? Yeah.
Again, there's only 2 guys. So elegantly said before, I'm emptying the clip empty. We only said 2 guys empty the clip. It was Ken Walker and it was Jeffrey Wilson Jr. That's it. Those are the 2. And so far, that looked like the right thing to do. That was the right strategy. Mm-hmm. So the question is Gabe Davis too much for Jeff Wilson or vice versa?
I think that it's a fair trade. I mean, Gabe Davis, I don't think that the roller coaster production is going to go away. I think it's going to be like the booms and the games where he just doesn't do anything, but that's valuable as a wide receiver. It's just kind of nature of the position. But Jeff Wilson is a much steadier asset, and they also play, I believe, when they come back. They have a very good matchup. The matchup is escaping me who they're playing. I think it's the Texans, actually. Yeah, they're playing the Texans when they come back from their bye week, so Jeff Wilson's going to smash. So, yeah, I think it's a good opportunity.
Yeah, it's a really
and if you're going to trade Gabe Davis, you want to make sure you trade him after a good game because
which we just had. Yeah. So yeah, let's move on from that. All right, the lost member of the Wu-Tang Clan, Raekwon. What do I do with Deebo rest of season? Now, if you were watching the shows about a month ago, we were talking about kicking the tires on selling him, and that was before McCaffrey showed up. And then after McCaffrey showed up, we talked very, very openly about moving him. Now you're in a tough spot because the injuries, the lack of productivity, all that's kind of come to a head here, Andrew. So what do you do with Deebo? Are you trying to unload him for whatever you can get, or are you just trying to ride out the wave? Because chances are you had a 2nd or 3rd round investment in him.
Yeah, I would try to buy low on a different wide receiver. So we talked about Chris Olave. We talked about Amari. I think Amari Cooper is like an interesting buy low guy after he
Love it.
basically
Yeah.
dudded out. Like that's who I would try to move. Like and Deebo, like season long, it's not like he's done nothing all year, but just I mean, look, Ayuk is the number one receiver in this offense because that's just how he's used. And McCaffrey, Kittle, and Deebo Samuel, like one of those guys every week is going to hit. And the other guys are all going to suffer because Ayuk's the only one that has a clear-cut role as the perimeter receiver, whereas all the other players are operating near the line of scrimmage over the middle of the field. So just based on Jimmy Garoppolo's, let's say, lack of creativity and like the ability to make plays with the opposite weapons that he has, we're just going to see guys suffer as a result. So I would try to move just for a clear-cut wide receiver on their team that has a strong, even like Terry McLaurin. I mean, McLaurin has been just
He's been
dynamite
great.
with
Heineke's
Heineke
always
at
been,
quarterback.
he's always favored him. And
Yep.
last night, Bogman and I were talking about this, and we always do that Monday Night Football live stream, and they do a Thursday Night Football live stream on the Betting Pros, which you haven't already. Go subscribe to Betting Pros because they got some amazing content. And on Thursday Night Football, we called the Carolina upset, and we called last night too Washington covering easily. Well, not only did they cover, they won outright. We talked about throwing a small unit, even if it was $10, $20 on the Commanders to win because of all the narratives that we were building for that potentially. And one of the things that we were slightly unsure about was McLaurin because we said, look, it's a really good matchup. The corners have played super for the Eagles, but that was very eye-opening yesterday. That was a matchup where McLaurin kept winning. And look, McLaurin, I think I'm with you. I think I'd rather have him rest of season than Deebo. I think he's going to be better in PPR, especially.
Yeah, I mean, he's just look. I mean, the last 4 weeks with Heineke, he's at over a 30% target share,
Yeah, it's
and
been
it's
nuts.
like Curtis. They just don't like Curtis Samuel has his value just tanked. Like,
And that was another one of our favorite props was the under on the 4
yeah,
receptions for Curtis Samuel. And that hit too. Ooh-wee, making money. Raider fan since 1967 lost Ertz. Which tight end? Foster Moreau, Juwan Johnson, Tunyon, or McBride?
for me, it's Foster Moreau. Just he is a clear cut starter. He runs all the
Yeah.
routes, and Renfro's on IR. Matt Collins just kind of does a lot of cardio. So I'm going Moreau.
I like Juwan. I'm fascinated to see what you get out of Trey McBride. Trey McBride's a talented guy. Great dude, too. But I think you're right. I think Foster Moreau is probably the safest of those options. Con Case. Oh, is it time for the Ritter takes? Is this the week Ritter takes over? Here we go. Here's the question.
I mean, it depends. If I decide to stream Marcus Mariota this week, then yeah, it definitely will be the week Ritter decides to take over.
Marcus Mariota, I did not think was going to make his double digits, and he did. So kudos to him, whatever the hell a kudo is.
Pop
You did
the
it.
champagne.
Pop the champagne, baby. You did it. It'll be in 10 weeks. I did not have it. If you gave me the 10 weeks, I would have taken the under and I would have smashed it, but I was wrong. So what are you going to do? But I mean, it's possible. At a certain point, if you are the Falcons, you should start evaluating what you have.
I think that I don't. I mean, if they're playing a better defense, then maybe. But like the Bears defense isn't any good, so I can't imagine this is going to be the worst game. I really think it's probably going to be after their bye week, which is not till
I would
later in the
agree.
season anyway. Like that makes
Yeah.
the most sense to get them ready.
Well, they're hanging around a weak division, and that's the thing. The division's
Yeah.
been weak. Had the Buccaneers just run away with things like everybody thought they would, or the Saints, it would be a different conversation. But everybody's just played down. So all of a sudden, when
Yeah.
the Falcons when the Falcons have an upset of the 49ers, and the Falcons have an upset of this team or that team, all of a sudden they got themselves back in the conversation. And it's hard to switch out there because you're still mathematically in the hunt. And that's tough to sell the fan base if you're going to make that change. But I don't think it's going to be this week either. I'm with you, Andrew. I think it's until they're really in a spot where it's doom and gloom, then I think you see Ritter, unfortunately.
Another 200 air yard game for Kyle Pitts with no catches, and then we need to see Ritter ASAP.
I mean, I want to see Ritter 8 weeks ago, but what the hell do I know? Jacob Glazer, is Christian Watson the real deal, or was his game a bit fluky? I think his game was a bit fluky. Do you want to call him the real deal, though? I mean, he had a good pedigree coming out of college, but some of the knocks on him in college were drops. Also, was going to take him a little bit of time to acclimate. Now we're in double-digit weeks. Do you believe Christian Watson is this guy, or is this another one of these games where, remember when Romeo Doubs had a huge game and everybody was falling all over themselves? Is that going to be the same situation here with Christian Watson? Then we're setting ourselves up for disappointment.
Well, the reason I don't want to call it fluky necessarily is because this is the first game he like fully played the entire game. Like every other game he's been in this season has been, he's like left with an injury. He was not playing on a reduced snap share. So this was the first time we got to see Christian Watson, run a route on 90% of the dropbacks. And what was the result? Oh, 3 touchdowns, like 44% target share. Like those numbers are very, very rare in his first game where he was a full-time starter entrenched in the offense. So I don't think it's super fluky. Like, we've seen much flukier games from no-name players before having monster production for touchdowns. So I don't think it's super fluky. And I still think Watson is worth going aggressively on the waiver wire. But like I mentioned earlier, you can still sell high on him. You can trade him away because this could be his best game of his NFL career. But I don't want to take away from the credit from the player and what he did in an offense that had been struggling immensely. And I think it also benefited Watson that the Cowboys had not seen him play all year. Like, there was no tape on Watson except the fact that this dude is super fast. And the Cowboys clearly were not ready for it, which is why he was able to kind of sneak behind the defense. Now, it'll be tougher in coming weeks. He's not going to score 3 touchdowns again. At least I don't think he will. But I think that the injury things, as the injury risk too, I think is another reason why you should try to maybe sell high, because he's already on the injury report again this week.
That is stunning. That like, I guess that's the point too. I keep coming back to what you said earlier, which is after the 3 touchdown game, it's not going to get any higher. I would kick the tires all over the place.
And also, the Packers offense has been horrible all season, and
another good
they
point
barely
too.
threw the ball. Like, I believe Aaron Rodgers had like 10 completions.
Is he even a wide receiver 3 rest of the season for you, Watson?
I think that he would. I think that he could sneak into there, the wide receiver.
The fact that you have to raise your voice to say it, I think, says everything. Yeah, sure. I think whenever you have to do that, you're trying to convince yourself. And I don't think he is. I think he's a flex wide receiver. But those guys grow on, we could pluck those guys off of trees every now and then. Darius Slayton this week.
I think he'll be very boom or bust, which is why I lean on the selling high, because
I would too.
Offense still wants to
run
the football.
His theoretical value is through the roof right now because if he takes over, if he's the one, if he's the new Davante Adams, look, and maybe he is, but I would certainly bet the other way, especially with all the injuries, which is something you keep bringing up, and I think is something everybody should really listen to. Andrew Erickson's not just a pretty face, folks. Very smart. He's bringing up really good good points here, and good plates too. When he comes over for Thanksgiving, he brings excellent plates. Who never brings anything for Thanksgiving? Chris. He shows up there. He never brings anything. No side dish. No dessert.
Shows up. Where's the dessert table?
Eats everything. Right. And then he just, I'll see you next week. Jeez. Armando Mora. Who should I trade away? Fields or Josh Allen? Whoever you can get more for. That's my answer. What do you think?
I mean, I'm going to trade away Justin Fields, which I think you can probably get more for just because he's the new hotness and he's playing the Falcons.
Hey, that new hotness is pretty hot, dude.
It is.
As you would say, it's nuclear hot right now. I mean, it's not like, it's 1 game, it's 2 games, it's a month now.
Wait, so you said Fields, you had him at QB3, so you have him ahead of Allen, Mahomes, or...
No, I have Allen, Mahomes,
and Fields. Ahead of Hurts.
Yeah, I do.
Okay.
Because Hurts is not a great thrower of the football at the end of the day.
Dallas Goedert also got hurt, so I mean, and AJ Brown is banged up now too.
So. But that was even before that logic also entered into the equation. But I got to be honest with you. I mean, watching as much Fields as I did at Ohio State, he's an excellent thrower of the football. He's just had no confidence. And now all of a sudden, if he's finally understanding, if it's all getting unlocked for him, if he's finally comfortable, he's finally confident, you're seeing very similar versions of very similar throws to what you saw at Ohio State, where he would break out of the pocket, get extra time, and then throw a ball 30 yards downfield. And we all go, oh, geez, man, look at that. I mean, that's hard to stop. You can only guard everybody for so long. It makes Fields super dangerous. And then the designed runs and all the other stuff. I mean, the upside for those rushing touchdowns. Hurts had a great season. I'm not trying to knock Hurts at all. But the reason why 2 weeks ago I was saying Fields was because of the arm talent that he has that Hurts doesn't. And that's not something that I think is going to change. I know he doesn't have the same weapons. I get that. But I'm curious about the arm talent plus the feet. And you put that combination together, that is top 3 potential here. And look, we'll see at the end of the year who's the better quarterback down the stretch run. But I think it's going to be Fields. I really do. And it's not because I'm living in the moment either. All right, let's go to Joshua H. Trade help, please. T. Higgins and Stevenson or Kamara and Boyd. Which side is better for the rest of the year? So you want Higgins and Stevenson or Kamara or Boyd? I know my answer.
I want Higgins and Stevenson.
That is the right answer.
Huzzah!
Yeah, huzzah! I like the huzzahs. I want to break a cup every time you huzzahs. You ever watch that show, The Great? That's a great show.
Yeah.
Is that why you say huzzah?
Yeah.
See, how funny is that show? Everybody, when football season's over, all right? The Great on Hulu. Fantastic. Major endorsement. So funny. All right, let's get to John Rivera. Andrew, please settle this for me. Travis Kelce for Davante Adams and Josh Jacobs. Who wins?
I mean, if you're starting Davante Adams and Josh Jacobs, it's really hard to beat that. But Yeah, I mean, I'd rather
I
have
mean,
Adams and
this
Jacobs.
fascination with getting the only good tight end who's still alive in the NFL is kind of, I'm over it. Like, only
Yeah, I mean, you're
one
getting
team
a
has
wide
this
receiver one and
advantage.
a running. You're getting a top 5 wide receiver and a top 10 running back for a tight end.
Yeah, I would do
Yeah.
that. I mean, I want the Adams and Jacobs side. It's not even close. I
I
don't
mean,
get
Cole
this.
Kmet. I mean, imagine if he has Cole Kmet as a tight end, then
Look at us. We're getting
he's
more
crushing
upset
it.
the more we talk about this. All right, if you need more help too and we're not around, which is hardly ever, but in the off chance we're not available here in the live streams, on Discord, on Twitter, then make sure you have your teams and all of your leagues synced to My Playbook. Go over to fantasybros.com/myplaybook. Download that My Playbook app now at the Google or the Apple store. You can go get that. It's free to sync all your teams. And of course, if you're a premium member here at Fantasy Pros for our tools, you can get 6 free months of the premium at fantasypros.com/offers. But if you are premium, you get access to all of the tools completely unlocked. We're talking about the trade finder with the trade deadline coming up, the trade analyzer to find out what deals you might not even have thought of that could be on the table that could help your teams not only get to the playoffs, but dominate in the playoffs. And of course, the waiver wire assistant and many, many more, just a few. Also has the autopilot feature too to swap out guys in case you are unavailable to do that. So check out My Playbook. Again, it's the greatest suite of tools in the history of fantasy sports put together by our amazing Fantasy Pros team. It will change your world. I'm telling you, it's changed mine for sure. I love My Playbook. It is absolutely fantastic. So go get it, download it, see what I'm talking about, and then go upgrade as well. Go get your 6 free months. Let's go to Kyle Cabrera, half PPR. Should I be worried about starting Cordero Patterson? The other option is Kenyon Drake, Melvin Gordon, Jalen Warren. Pick one. Thank you.
I mean, I'm starting Cordell Patterson against the Bears.
Yes, I think against the Bears
It's a
too.
revenge game.
I knew it.
Don't
I was
forget.
waiting for the revenge narrative game. I think you have to start Patterson over all those guys. I wouldn't mind picking up Jalen Warren though, because
Yeah.
yesterday we were talking on the podcast, and Kevin Coleman was our guest. And he made a great point, which is, if the Steelers should fade and Najee ends up kind of, I'm too hurt to finish the season, those last couple weeks, you might see a lot of Jalen Warren. He's a fascinating player to have on your bench. And he's the first person to kind of discuss that narrative, which is, look, I know the Steelers won last week. I think they're going to cover this week. But in terms of winning against the Bengals, we shall see. What do you think about that? What do you think about having Jalen Warren on your bench regardless?
No, I think that Jalen Warren is a great stash and something that you need that should not be available in any waiver wires. I get that's not appealing, like, oh, like the Steelers running back, but like you said, if they shut down Najee and Jalen Warren is seeing 85% of the work, you're getting Najee's workload from last year, which is when Najee was good. And Warren has looked just more explosive of the two running backs this year. He's been more efficient on a per touch basis. And the Steelers were true to their word, getting Warren more involved after the bye week. Like he played his highest percent of snaps since their loss against the Bills. And if you remember in that game, the only reason Warren played more was because they were getting blown out.
Right.
So it was a clear indication based on just the snap and the usage that Warren was a bigger part of the offensive game plan. Now Harris still had 20 carries, almost 100 rushing yards, but that's the reason why you should be selling Najee Harris like right now because he almost hit 100 rushing yards because Warren is having a much bigger role in this offense.
Let's go to Z Ahmed. Is Nico Collins a better option than Zay Jones in the half PPR? I would venture to say yes.
Yeah, I think that Collins has more upside because he could be the
Yeah.
number one wide receiver on his team. Zay Jones, like I know he's on the I mean, he's a Jag. Like he's a Jag in real life, and he's a Jag on the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Wow. You want to talk
So
about the Joe hanging fruit. Wow. You just took that one, took a big old bite, didn't you?
yeah,
Jordan Cunningham, trade Fields for Damian Pierce. If you have a second quarterback, I mean, I get that, but I mean, I'd rather hang on to Fields. I guess here's my point with Fields too. There's a finite number of players, Andrew, and this goes for the audience listening as well, that are week winners. Fields is one of those guys. Pierce could be one of those guys. Fields is one of those guys. I think you got to look long and hard. Now, look, if you got Josh Allen, you got Mahomes, even if you have Hurts or what, that's fine. But anything short of that trio, like even Lamar, I'm playing Fields because I'm telling you right now, I think there's an opportunity here where we are looking at the guy who in single quarterback leagues still comes in and wins people weeks and wins people championships. What do you think about that?
yeah. Look, I have Fields in one league. I'm looking at Fields. He's my starting quarterback, and I'm looking for trades potentially if I can move off Fields to see if I can kind of cash in. But then when I look at the waiver wire for who I'd have to go to play instead of Fields, I'm like, I don't want to play Marcus Mariota. I don't want to trade Fields for that exact reason. So it really matters about, okay, if you move off Fields, obviously I think Pierce is a good value, getting a starting running back, a top 20 guy. But who are you replacing Fields with, like, at quarterback? If you have any hesitation about who that guy is, you can't do it. You got to keep Fields.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm keeping look, whoever that other quarterback is for you, Jordan, I would be kicking the tires there unless it's one of these top guys, in which case I get it. You have Mahomes and you just picked up Fields because it was a smart thing to do. And this is why we always say this. There's so many teams and so many managers, they aren't aggressive enough on the waiver wire when their records are good. And they miss out on talent. And then this puts them in a position where if you have so much more talent, you can make moves to better your team. You should always be looking to acquire assets every single week. It's why it's very important. You can't let up, even if you're 7-win team, 8-win team. Toph Magil. I just lost Kupp, but I did pick up Kmet this week prior. Should I trade Tyreek half PPR? No. See, look, this is where people go wrong. Stop taking the good players you have and trying to get mediocre elsewhere because you lost a player. That is the worst thing to do. You keep Tyreek Hill is one of those guys we were just talking about. Who are the guys that can win you a week? Tyreek Hill can. Justin Jefferson can. Fields certainly can. We've seen that the last few weeks here. And Tyreek's one of those dudes too. So I'm not doing this, Andrew, right? We want to talk Toph off the ledge here.
Yeah, I do not want to move off of Tyreek Hill. No. I mean, especially after his worst game of the season. This is not the time to move off.
Where he actually had a
Tyreek Hill.
touchdown too.
Yeah,
was he up to 4 now? That's a crazy thing. He was leading the league in yardage. We only had 4 touchdowns. And we're like, oh, yeah. That's a weird combination. By the way, Justin Jefferson got a lot closer after last week. We were talking about the Tyreek Hill Jefferson. I said, let's just wait and see how it all, when the dust settles, getting closer. Sean Lyons, QB Flyers for week 11. Who you got here? The QB Flyers, as we're looking through here, the rankings. I mean, if Danny Dimes is still out there, that would certainly be my number one guy.
Daniel Jones, it's Marcus Mariota. They both have good matchups. They both run. And that just kind of, I mean, look, they're not perfect fantasy
I don't
guys.
hate Pickett against the Bengals either, especially with all those corners out. I don't hate that. I think that's a better matchup than people realize. And he runs a little bit. I know it's not always pretty, but it's
I mean, Pickett, the way that he plays, the way that, look, it's not like you're going to feel great, watch the game type of thing with Pickett. It's but he's going to have a 30-point game. I feel pretty confident. He's got good weapons. They throw the ball a ton. So, yeah, and the way that Kenny Pickett plays, he plays kind of fearlessly. He throws the ball into traffic. Like you mentioned, he runs a little bit. So, going to keep playing Pickett in DFS until he hits one of these weeks. But, I think that he is a decent flyer as well.
Don't forget, everybody, we still got some time left in the stream. If you want your question answered, make sure you drop it in the chat and be a subscriber to Fantasy Pros. And when you do, you could win a football. Well, it's more than just a football. It's a Devontae Adams autograph football from Pristine Auction. That's what it is. Look at it. It's glorious. It's not a helmet. It's not a jersey. It's a football. And it's nice. It's pretty cool there. I mean, that's a nice little Christmas gift. Even if you win it and you hate the Raiders, you can give it to somebody else. Look at that. 'Tis the season. But seriously, go out there, be a subscriber, click the bell till it goes ding so you know if you're the big winner and every time a piece of content drops here. And of course, that's from Pristine Auction, which, by the way, around the holidays, Pristine Auction is another great place to go shopping, buy some things for your significant other, for your dad, for your mom, for your kids. Lots of cool stuff. Get them a signed jersey or a signed football. Okay, let's move on to the next one here. Let's go to Zach Sprates. Trade Hopkins for Gabe Davis and Jeffrey Wilson Jr. What do you think of that deal?
If you need a running back, yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense to do that. Marquise Brown is coming back soon, so we'll see how that affects DeAndre Hopkins. Maybe it doesn't. What's up with Kyler Murray? Don't really know. So, yeah.
You know what I think was up with Kyler Murray? Cliff Kingsbury. That's what I think is up with. I think he's just done. He's like, this hamstring's not feeling great, coach. I feel like putting up with your stuff. It's not, hamstring's not strong enough to keep carrying this team. How bad you call the plays. I think that's where Kyler Murray's at, personally.
Yeah.
You disagree?
I mean, hey, everyone's entitled to their weekend of Call of Duty, so he wanted to take a weekend off.
I don't know if I've ever played Call of Duty. I was older when that game became the phenomenon where, so I was out of that.
I mean,
but now
it is a fun. I mean, I haven't played it in years, but when I played it in high school, it was a fun time.
I see here now I'm on that flip side. Well, now that my kids are getting older, I have free time on my hands. So now I'm gonna
time to dive back in.
I'm gonna be texting Chris. Hey, yo, Chris, you get that PS5? Want to go out and play some Call of Duty?
Double XP weekend, baby.
Yeah, Chris would probably just take me out. He would probably get behind me and just finally he'd live his dream out of just ending it. And it was a end of stream, Chris. There you go. That's what you would say. All right, let's go to Tom Presson. Oh, Tom Presson. Sorry, Tom. Tom Presson. Should I drop Kenyon Drake to pick up Rachaad White? I say yes. What say you?
Yeah, I think Rachaad White's the better long-term investment.
Logan Arsenault. That's a cool name. Logan Arsenault. I'm pretty sure he played for the Argonauts. Burrow or Tua rest of season? I'm taking Tua.
I agree. Tua.
It's hard not to right now. All right, Alex. Hey, Joe and Andrew. Thanks for all the content in a 10-person PPR. Who do I start in the flex and not, excuse me. Do I start Swift in the flex and not the RB spot? What do you do here?
What time does Swift play?
That I don't know off the top of my head.
I mean, I guess I'm confused on this question. Like what, versus who else are you debating between, Alex? That's my, I guess, I mean, I'm always starting the guy whoever plays latest in the flex. So
he is playing at 1:00. They're playing the Giants. That's right. Duh.
Yeah,
it's a 1:00 game. So yeah, I mean,
does it matter? Are they scoring different points if they're in the flex or is the RB spot? I'm not sure what.
No, but I understand. They're looking to swap or anything like that. I guess if you have guys playing on Thursday Night Football, then it becomes interesting. Yes.
Yeah. So then if you have guys playing Thursday, you would put Swift in the flex versus the.
Yes, that's what you do. All right, let's go to Lion Eagle Griffin. Have Ertz and Dulcich thinking of adding Knox or Hurst since Pitts has such a low floor.
Well, you don't have Ertz anymore. So
right, you had Ertz. That would be the proper verbiage.
I think that adding 3 tight ends is just going to be more frustrating, and I think that rosters. I don't think you need 3.
So who do you want? Who do you rank these guys rest of the season? This is the easiest thing to help the Lion here. Dulcich, Knox, Hurst, Pitts.
Dulcich and Pitts are the top 2 for me, and it's close between those two. So I'm not adding Knox or Hurst over Dulcich and Pitts.
All right, and if you've got questions more about the tight end situation, then we know it's a lot. Go over and check out our rankings at fantasypros.com/rankings. We've got our lists up for the week already. We've been tweaking everything. Rest of season, I just updated. I'm sure Andrew has as well. Right, Andrew? You updated your rest of season?
Yes, I did.
Such a good boy. All right, Tyler T. Do I start Pitts or go get Foster or Kmet? Now, I like Kmet. I'm a Kmet guy anyway, so I'm going for Kmet. I don't think it's a fluke, me personally. What do you think?
No, I agree. I think that Kmet's the guy. Just double check to make sure that he's okay with his. I know he got banged up at the end of the game.
He did
last week.
With Okudah there, which was a tricky thing, but I don't think hopefully there's nothing.
Yeah, you just got to monitor the injury reports throughout the week. Like if he's, because this happens sometimes. Like guys go back in and they say that they're fine, and then a couple days later, oh my god, my knee's the size of a bowling ball. Like what's going on?
True.
Like
that's definitely something to pay attention to. Also, he's got that bye coming up in week 14. Don't forget too. So check your bye weeks. You're going to need 2. If you pick up Kmet, you're still going to need somebody else. Yeah. So try to understand that. Let's go to Brian B. Would you trade Kamara for Foreman? Oh, excuse me, Alvin Kamara and Foreman for Henry. Would you do that trade?
I mean, you're giving up a lot for Derrick Henry, and so Derrick Henry the last 2 weeks, like his carries are like fallen down significantly. Now they're playing on a short week. You buy into that anything with Derrick Henry, or is just like
Denver's a pretty good defensive unit? I think a lot of it had to do with the predictability of Malik Willis's lack of ability to throw the football.
That makes sense.
So I think that's part of it, and then Tannehill's limitation of him not being 100%. So I think, as crazy as it sounds, I think a healthy week from Tannehill would go a long way for my confidence in Derrick Henry. But
yeah,
we have to put some faith in that potentially happening. And look, the Titans are in it. They're in it to win. The Titans are going to be in the playoffs, folks. I know it's going to be boring and you're going to hate life. You're going to see the Titans one week and you go, oh, I don't want to watch the Titans, but you're going to have to. This is what they do. I think I would do this deal. Henry down the stretch is something I'd like, but I will say this. Look very carefully of what that leaves you with depth-wise, Brian, because if you are killing your depth for this, I would not do it because depth at running back is crucial for this playoff run. It's going to be crucial this year.
Yeah, I guess like my hesitation would be if you're starting Foreman and Kamara like every week, then I think I'd rather have the 2 running backs than just one Derrick Henry, because Kamara can put up a Derrick Henry. And we've seen Jonathan Foreman do it too. So like,
Foreman's had a couple of weeks.
Unless Foreman is sitting on your bench and you're just like, I can't start him because I have all these studs. Okay, then like package them together, get a better. Obviously, I think Derrick Henry is the best piece here, but I wouldn't say the drop off from Henry to Kamara is like significantly a vast margin. But that's the best way to view it.
Let's press on here, shall we? C. Clark. What do I even do with Najee? That is the $25,000 question.
You trade him. You trade Najee. I mean, he had almost 100 rushing yards last week. Pretty good game.
Yeah, I think you can. I mean, it's a very difficult situation. I would be having Warren if I had Najee. I would.
The thing is, you got to package him with someone else. Like, you can't just
Yes.
trade him because people focus on just Najee, and it's like, oh, like, well, I don't want him. So you just package him with a wide receiver that had a good week. Like, that's what you got to do.
Would you put, like, let's say a Rondale Moore and a Najee Harris to move up to? I don't know if you can't. I don't think you can get Pollard anymore. I think that ship has sailed. Do you think you can get Pierce?
Yeah, I think you can probably get Pierce.
I mean, here's the thing. I mean, Pierce is less thrilling in PPR formats because he's not going to catch the ball a ton. Not that Najee's been, the stellar receiver this season either. But I don't know, man. It's very difficult. I mean, Najee.
Honestly, like, if
they're
you
more
wanted,
consistent targets, at least with Najee. I know last week he only had one, but before that, 2 weeks in a row, it's 6 and 4. So he had 10 over those 2 weeks, and he caught 9 of them.
yeah, I mean, I would rather have like Garrett Wilson than Najee. I'd rather have. I would try to package him like, or even you try to go after one of these receivers coming back from an injury, Marquise Brown or Michael
Well, look,
Williams.
you make a good point. This is, he did have 20 carries for 99 yards this past week.
Yeah, I think it was
That
like
looks
his highest rushing total. Might be all
well,
year.
It looks a lot like a Dameon Pierce line that we get every week.
And I'd rather take the consistency.
Right. Well, that's I think why we're talking it out here.
And the guy that has the bell cow role.
David A, not knowing my team, what order would you pick up these waivers rest of season? PPR, Rachaad White, Slayton, Zay Jones, Eli Mitchell. Go.
Where is this question? I'm trying to see.
David A. I'll give you my order while you're looking at it. It's okay. For me, I'm looking long term here. So Rachaad White's still the 1. Slayton would be my 2 if I needed somebody this week. If not, then probably Mitchell would be my 2, then Slayton, then Jones.
Zay Jones is on a bye week, so that's why I would probably have him last, but I'd go White.
I would have him last regardless. Mitchell. He's last no matter what. So he's not even, still not there. So,
yeah, so Joe, I couldn't help but think of you when I looked at Elijah Mitchell's final stat.
I did a public apology on the pod yesterday. I said,
funny.
Look, I broed somebody out of turn on Sunday. It's the first time all season I broed somebody and been wrong. And I will say this: how depressing if you're a CMC manager to see
it was like
Eli Mitchell.
Well, so the thing that was annoying to me was, obviously CMC had that first game with the 49ers, and then everyone that took CMC over Jonathan Taylor was victory lapping. Oh, well, CMC was the right pick all along. And then the next week, Jonathan Taylor plays more snaps than Christian McCaffrey. And now, Jonathan Taylor wasn't the worst first round pick ever. So it's just the victory lapping, like the taking the L's, like just let the season play out. Like we still have so many games left. Like let's all just wait and see it all play out.
That's the difference between us and other shows. I feel like we are always looking at the bigger picture, and we're here to do work every week. That's what we're here to do. We're here to try to look at what's going on, make the best decisions we can. And I think it's more about everybody else than it is about us. And I think that's why we're fantasy pros. And I think that's the difference. You can make that into a commercial, by the way, Chris. You can go cut that right now. Shelbo, drop Wan'Dale. I'm okay with that.
That's fine.
Let's go. This next one here. Carson Phillipson. Which tight end should I take off waiver? Schultz, Kmet, or Moreau?
I like Schultz. I think that he's the most consistent.
I think that's the order. Schultz, Kmet, Moreau. Honestly, it wouldn't be the worst to have 2 of these guys going forward because I think they are their assets as you get to that trade deadline that's looming next week. Jen Richards sitting at 8-2. Nice, Jen. Good job. In full PPR, looking for some playoff spots to trade into. Should I package A.J. Brown and either with Stevenson or Foreman for an RB like Cook, Pierce, or a wide receiver like Hopkins? I'd rather stand pat with the guys you have, to be honest with you. I think you're in good shape. The younger backs, I think, is the way to go. I'm a little worried about the old farts. Like Cook and Hopkins as we get towards the end of the season.
Cook has been like ripping off these like 80-yard touchdown runs, but besides that, he's like literally been doing nothing. So that is.
I mean, I don't know how much of that game you got to watch, but that was the one that I was keyed in on because I thought this was just going to be the game. But there was so much Madison in that game too. At times, that was the other thing too. There's these Madison moments. He's like mayhem. He's like that commercial, that guy. It's like he keeps showing up and ruining Dalvin Cook stuff.
And they both were single-digit numbers. So I'm like, wait, is that Madison or Cook? Wait, it's Madison.
I just don't like trades where you're just dealing pieces for pieces.
Also,
like,
you don't want to trade AJ Brown right now either after he had a horrible game.
And you mentioned that Hopkins has unknown situation at quarterback,
Marquise is coming
and
back.
Hollywood Brown coming back. That's a lot. David Acosta, should I keep Jakobi Meyers? I mean, I would.
Look, he's steady. Like there's value in that. Like, don't just get rid of a player just because you don't like him, or I mean, he has value. So trade him. If you don't want to keep him, then trade him. Don't just
All
drop
right,
him.
let's rapid fire these. Rich Heller, would you trade CMC for Tyreek Hill?
Yeah.
Okay, Brandon C. I have Gus and Kenyon Drake. Who starts? What do I do?
I don't know who starts. Like, do we know this yet?
He's
Whoever's
asking
healthy.
us. No, we
Whoever's
don't know.
healthy.
I mean, look, whoever's. I don't even know if you're gonna have clarity here. This is a bad situation, Brandon. That's what it is. Ryan, you gotta package these guys, get somebody less. Like if you get both of those guys for a lower end running back that's just gonna be there every week, I would do that. Next year, Ryan Olson, rank the order rest of the season. Brian Robinson, Rachaad White, Isiah Pacheco.
I will go with White, Pacheco, Robinson.
Okay. Eric Trigo, trade Stevenson for Mike Evans.
No.
I don't love that. No. Justin Jeffords, with Mike Williams coming back, would you drop him or Jakobi Meyers or DJ Moore? I'm dropping Jakobi of those guys, probably, right?
Yes.
Okay. Tony Scott, is Kennan Allen worth keeping?
No. Like,
it's a lost season. These things just
over.
happen sometimes. Don't forget, everybody, go like the stream on the way out. If you haven't already, do it right now. That's the way to say thank you for hanging out with us, and we hope you're having a great day. We hope you are having a better day than all the people who are waiting on that line for the last 3 hours for Taylor Swift tickets like I was. Hopefully, you got your tickets to the show, which is this show right here. Don't forget to be a subscriber here at Fantasy Pros. Click that bell till it goes ding. We're giving away that Devontae Adams football. And, of course, you can join our Discord, fantasypros.com/chat for more discussions and my playbook. fantasypros.com/myplaybook, the place to get the best suite of tools in the history of the universe. Download the app now and go premium at fantasypros.com/offers. That'll do it for us. But the story of the game goes on. For Andrew Erickson, I'm Joey P. We'll see you next time, kids. Peace.